Alright, so I'm bringing some kind of new content because all we've done on this channel so far is sealed only and openings. So here's something very different. We'll be doing an archetype review series. This is not Archetype Archive because he goes over every card in the archetype and just like rates it, whatever. I'm just basically going to show you a deck profile, explain all the components of the deck, explain how it works, the general playstyle of the deck, and then kind of show you the combo path. So this is more like a deck profile than anything, but kind of more in depth, I suppose. Also, dog, aw, sit down. Okay, you might see a dog head poke into frame, but yeah. So without further ado, I bring you Fire Fists. So what are Fire Fists' main playstyle? They are a build your board going first deck without consistency and without power output. Just imagine like pendulums, like the same level of like combos, the same like vulnerabilities, but just like exponentially worse. All right, this is what you have. So your first three off is Fire Fist Dragon. You will be running three of him because he is the archetypal monster reborn. You can send 2 fire formation spells or traps to revive a Fire Fist from your graveyard. Or you and then also it has a secondary effect where when you activate a fire formation spell or trap, you can set a fire formation trap from your deck. Keyword trap. He is restricted to traps only from the set, so he is not necessarily a combo piece, more like he's getting traps in for the finisher. Or the finishing board. And so you always run 3 off because he is the monster reborn and his effects are software return. So if you can loop him somehow, it's just excellent. Another important factor is that he's level 4 and he's also kind of beefy. But he's level 4, meaning you can access your rank 4 toolbox, which has one insanely good going second card and then kind of just garbage. Next is Fire Fist Bear. He is a one-off and his inclusion is questionable. So if he inflicts battle damage, you can set a fire formation spell or trap, which will very rarely happen. But then his other effect is the important one. You can send a fire formation to your graveyard to destroy 1 card on the field, or destroy 1 monster, correction. And so the only reason you run him is to trigger the floating effect of one of your extra deck monsters, who's rather famous, so you guys may know the effect already. But yeah, that's basically the only reason he's included. He's also good spot removal, I suppose, but again, not great. Next is Fire Fist Raven, and so this is a level 3 with 200 attack and 1800 defense. That stat line is actually very important because notice how he has 1200 defense. So that means that none of these are targets for a card that we'll be talking about very soon. Alright, so his effect is when you send from the field to the graveyard, you can set a, sorry, not when, if, correction. If he's sent, you can set a fire formation spell or trap, and then fire formation spell or traps cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects, but that's only while he's on the field, so it's basically irrelevant. And so basically your main opening play will be normal summoning Raven, and then linking off into Almirage, and then having Almirage on the board, getting a fire formation, and starting your combo. So yeah, he's a guaranteed 3 off. Next is Fire Formation or Fire Fist Spirit. Alright, so the important thing about Spirit is so many restrictions. So I'm actually going to bring her up closer so we can read the text together. So yeah, cannot be used as synchro material except for the synchro summon of a Beast Warrior monster. When this card is normal summoned only, you can target 1 level 3 or lower fire monster with 200 or less attack defense in your graveyard, meaning that nothing we've gone over so far is a viable target. And then if we'll focus again, and if you do, monsters you control cannot attack for the rest of the turn except for Beast Warriors. You don't use this effect once per turn. So basically, she's basically just restrictions. She has a small monster reborn effect, and then the rest is just restrictions. Meaning you also can Boral Sword OTK too if you ever use Spirit. But generally speaking, you don't, like, her inclusion could be dropped to 1, to be honest. She's not a very good card. She makes a Synchro, which is an alright card, but she on her own is considerably worse than like half the archetype. Next we have Fire Fist Leopard. He's one of the few targets we do have for Spirit, and he's just worse Raven. You can tribute him to set a fire formation spell or trap, and he's a hard once per turn. So he can't be looped like Raven, and he also you don't have any board presence if you use his effect, so you run that in case you don't draw it Raven. Then you have 2 Rooster. And so Rooster is actually a target for Fire Fist Spirit and is the best target. When he's special summoned, you can search a Fire Fist monster from your deck to your hand. Any Fire Fist monster, regardless of level, which is also very relevant. And then you can send one fire formation spell or trap you control to the graveyard to set another one. And that's, again, a very powerful effect. The first one is a hard once per turn, the second one is not. So if you choose, you can loop Rooster's secondary effect. Next, we have 3 Firefist Panda. This is one of the more expensive cards in the deck, sitting at $10 a copy. And basically, he's both one of the most important and one of the worst cards that's ever been printed for Firefist. So what he does is essentially when you activate a Firefist spell or Fire Formation spell or trap, you can revive one Brotherhood of the Firefist monster from your graveyard and special summon himself from the hand. But he locks you into Firefist for the rest of the turn. Then once per turn, when a Firefist monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can send a Fire Formation to negate or to prevent the destruction. And so a couple of important things. One, he's level 5. So he cannot actually be searched with the archetypal Rhoda because it does have the same restriction as Rhoda, meaning Rooster and one other monster can search him. And then 2, he locks you into Firefist, which kills half of the power output of the deck, but also he's the main combo piece. So it's just, there is no power output, potential power output without him, but also he limits the deck severely. It's weird. Alright, next we have 3 Firefist Elephant. So Elephant is one of the best cards of the deck, but also has one of the weirdest secondary effects, because most of these guys do have 2 effects. So Elephant's first effect is when he's summoned, you can send one face-up Fire Formation spell or trap you control to the graveyard to special summon one Fire Fist from your hand, which is an excellent effect. And then that's also hard once per turn. But then the second effect is, or both his effects are once per turn, hard once per turns. Ugh. And then his second effect is you can shuffle a Fire Formation from your graveyard into your deck to add a level 5 or higher Panda or the Ritual monster in the deck, which we'll go over last. But yeah, he's basically, his secondary effect kind of goes against what the Link monster wants to do. And so it's really just a debate about which would net you more benefit. Because if you say don't have any other like Fire Fist in your hand and you only have Elephant or something and like one other monster on board because you special summoned, and you make the Link monster, like it makes sense to search Panda instead of, you know, using the Link monster's effect, because you can probably activate a Fire Formation to trigger it. Next you have Fire Fist Buffalo. He's probably the most famous member of the archetype right now, just because he recently appeared in the topping like Lunalight Zodiac Fire Fist profile at, I want to say, UDS. But yeah, basically you can send 2 Fire Formations from your spell or trap zone to the graveyard to special summon him, and he's just a body for rank 4 plays, or fusions technically. And he's your secondary target for the archetypal Foolish Burial, and also very good material for the fusion or ritual, because this deck does everything, just very poorly. And speaking of the ritual, here is Brotherhood of the Firefist Eland. So let's read him real quick because he's kind of chunky. You can ritual summon this card with 1 Fire Formation Dome. You can discard 1 monster. Set 1 Fire Formation spell or trap directly from your deck or graveyard. When your opponent activates a monster's quick effect, you can send 1 Fire Fist or Fire Formation card you control to the graveyard, except Brotherhood of the Firefist Eland. Negate the effect. You can only use each effect once per turn. So he is basically just a monster negate. That's it. He like, for all the resources you put into him, he gives very little payoff, but at the same time, it's about as good as any card in the archetype gets. So yeah, we run him unconditionally, but also he sucks. He sucks hard. Next, you run 3 Ash Blossom just because, yeah. Next, 3 Fire Formation Tenki. So you all know what this card does. It lets you add 1 level 4 lower Beast Warrior monster. All Beast Warriors you control gain 100 attack, and it is a hard once per turn activation. So yeah, this is a guaranteed 3-off. This is actually the card built. This is the archetype built for Fire Formations, as you can see with Raven in the artwork, and another one, I think that's Hawk in the background. Hawk is irrelevant, so we will not talk about Hawk. But yeah, Tenki, very good card. But also hard once per turn is a pretty big restriction, and I actually need to go back a little bit and talk about a Fire Fist monster. I do not include the extra deck, or the main deck, that most people do, or a lot of people do, and that's Fire Fist Swallow. So basically, you can send 3 Fire Formations you control to the graveyard to special summon him from hand. But the thing is, it's an inherent summon, meaning that the Link monster, who basically takes away most of the costs for Fire Fist effects, cannot work for him. and so therefore Swallow is kind of bad. It's a very big resource commitment, and the payoff is minimal. It's just a level 5 body typically, and then like battle protection, I guess. Yeah, it's not great. And next we got, so going back to fire formations, we have fire formation Yoko. And so basically when activated, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, discard one Beast Warrior monster, and if you do, destroy that card. All Beast Warriors control gain 100 attack. The main reason you run this card is because, one, it's spot removal if you need it, and then two, it is not once per turn. And so the whole thing is that you could just keep bouncing and reusing it. That's the entire benefit of the card. Yeah, I mean, the 100 attack, I guess, is fun or whatever. Next, you have to run 3 Fire Formation Tensu. It is a mandatory card. It is an archetypal double summon, which is super important for all your combos. And then also, it is not once per turn, so you can keep on bouncing and activating it, and this will typically be the one that you keep on looping. And then it also just has the 100 attack boost, but that's just about irrelevant. Next, I run 3 just because I typically have a lot of issues drawing into these non-once per turn fire formations, but most people run it at 2 or even 1. And basically, at 5, we're talking about Fire Fortress atop Liang Peak. So basically, it's the archetypal field spell, and it's always treated as a fire formation, meaning in the TCG at least, you can search it as though it were a fire formation. In the OCG, I think the ruling is different. But yeah, so I'm going to bring him up close because he's also a very beefy chunker. So let's see if my camera focus. There we go. This card is always treated as a fire formation card. Each time a Fire Fist monster is normal special summon, place 1 Fire Fist counter on this card. Once per turn, you can remove Fire Fist counters from your field to activate one of these effects. 2 counters. If your Beast Warrior monster attacks this turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects till the end of the damage step. That effect's just about irrelevant. 6 counters. Add 1 Beast Warrior from your deck to your hand. That's very important if you do run out of resources mid-combo, but you typically won't be doing that if you can get to 6 counters. 10 counters. Special summon 1 Beast Warrior from your deck or extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions. And that's the real gem there, because that is not limited to Fire Fist. The issue, however, there is the fact that Panda will lock you into Fire Fist most of the times you can reach 10 summons, and so that typically means you will not be able to resolve that effect till the turn after. But even then, like if you summon something like Lunalight Leo Dancer, you can OTK them that next turn. Next, we got 2 copies of Fire Formation Dome. And so, again, we need to read this card because it's important. And also, don't be fooled. Even though it's a continuous spell, it is also a ritual spell. And it also has some pretty nice artwork. But yeah, when this card is activated, you can ritual summon 1 Beast Warrior ritual monster from your hand by tripping monsters from your hand or field whose levels equal or exceed the level. So, Fire Fist Eland. Then you can target 1 fire, or if this face-up spell or trap is sent from the spell or trap zone to the graveyard, you can target 1 Fire Fist monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and then you can only activate the effect of once per turn, and then you can only activate 1 per turn. So the issue here is that it's only once. You can only activate it once per turn, but the floating effect is really helpful. So sometimes after Eland, say you're like running really low on resources, you can actually link off your link monster who takes away costs, and then use Eland's effects next turn, sending the Dome as cost to revive Eland. Next, we have 1 copy of Fire Formation Ingen. This is the fusion spell. It fuses, and then it has a similar floating effect to Dome's, except that it heads back to hand, so it's not quite as good. But also, it's you run 1 off just because it's a hard once per turn. And then if you're running Desires, or if you choose to run Desires and you Desires that, you cry. Next, you run double Ultimate Fire Formation Sinto. For such an epic name, it's a pretty bad card. It is essentially a hard once per turn spell or trap negate, and that kind of cripples this card because it's very easily like searchable and stuff. But like the fact that you can only have 1 essentially limits you to 2 negates in the entire deck, because you have 1 Eland, 1 Sinto, and none in the extra deck. And so here we have 2 copies just because typically like just 1 is not enough. There's too many situations where just like you either use up your 1 and then you're gone and it can't be recycled, or something else. Like it's bad. Next, you run 1 Tencent as another target for Dragon because you'd probably be able to resolve Dragon twice in a turn. And so for Tencent, or at least if you can't resolve Dragon twice, you'll probably find another way to set a Fire Formation trap or a spell or trap by the end of your combo. And so 10 cents is just at 1,000 attack boost. So he's kind of the archetypal honest, I guess, but not quite as good. And then next we run 2 generic spells. Monster Reborn and Upstart Goblin. Monster Reborn is the combo extender, and Upstart Goblin is just consistency. You might notice that I'm pretty sure I'm running 41 cards. I'm not 100% on that, just because when I was checking ratios yesterday, I tossed another Ash because it counted 39, but I realized it's because I found Eland. So Ash should probably be at 2 in the deck, just because like it's just, this deck is so inconsistent. It's painfully inconsistent. But yeah, and then I want to, when we're doing a combo path, I'll show you Cattle Call, because that is a misleading card, and I'll show you exactly why. Okay, so for the extra deck, you have to run Almirage. So it's mandatory. It's just how you get Raven in the graveyard. You have to run it. Next, you run 2 Firefist Eagle. So he's a real nice card. So we will read his effect up close and personal once my camera focuses. You can only special summon 1 per turn. You can activate Firefist monsters' effects without sending Firefist or Fire Formation cards from your hand or field to the graveyard. You can target 1 Fire Formation spell or trap you control or in your graveyard. Return this to your hand. Then return to your hand. Then send 1 Firefist monster from your deck to the graveyard. So he's both turns off all your costs and recycles a spell or trap to Foolish Burial. So just an excellent card, like phenomenal. Next, you run Archetypal Warlord. She actually has a really conflictory effect, so her inclusion is also debatable. Basically, when she points to a Firefist monster, your opponent cannot target her for attack. When this card declares an attack, you can send 1 face of Fire Formation you control to the graveyard, then target 1 monster your opponent controls, place it in a zone this card points to, and take control of it, but it cannot declare an attack this turn. Do you guys see the issue here? Basically, she only has protection while she's pointing to like a Firefist, so say Rooster, because oh no, you do not have Rooster on your field. Dragon. All right, so like she's pointing to a dragon. All right, cool. She's protected from like unwanted battle, I suppose. But then oh, what's that? Oh no, you want to steal? Well, too bad. You have to get rid of that dragon somehow. So yeah, her effects actively work against each other, and if you've basically stolen a monster with her, you don't have the resources to do anything anymore. Next, you want 1 copy of Appaloosa. This and all the other Link 4s are optional, just because you'll never ever be able to make them. I'm going to be very blunt. You will never be able to access these, just because Panda is a fantastic card, but also the worst card in the world. Also, this is an Ultimate Rare Japan OCG copy, just because my secret rare is with a friend right now, and because I cannot afford multiple secret rares, because I do not happen to have an extra $150 lying around. But yeah, so if you make these, you win. If you don't, you don't. That's going to be most of your games. Next, you have 1 copy of Lion Emperor. Again, he's just kind of to fill out space. I wouldn't buy him if you don't want him, just because he adds 1 Firefist back from the graveyard to your hand. But he's very expensive right now. Next, you run 2 Tiger King, just because Tiger King has a fantastic floating effect. And actually, let me read it. So, by the way, this is Collector's Tin Platinum Rare, in case you were wondering, or if you've never seen this before. But it requires 2 level 4 Beast Warrior monsters. When this is XE summoned, you can set 1 Fire Formation spell or trap. So you will sometimes make this at the end of your combo, just to get the extra spell or trap. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material and negate the effects of all face-up monsters, currently in the field, except for Beast Warrior types, until the end of your opponent's turn. This sounds very good, until you realize it's a spell speed 1, so you can only activate it on your turn. Secondary effect. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can send 3 Fire Formation spell traps you control the graveyard and special summon 2 level 4 or lower Beast Warrior monsters. So the very important caveat there is when. Because mistiming exists. So, had he not been that, he would be a phenomenal card. You would make him, you would float off into whatever 2 cards, probably 2 dragons, because it's so good. It's so freaking good. But no, he has to be a when effect, meaning the only way that his effect will resolve, in case you don't know, is if it's the very last thing in the chain. So for example, if you use him as summoning material, it will not resolve, because the summon resolves immediately after he's been sent. The only way you will essentially resolve this is because of an effect that specifically destroys him. So like, even if it's like, say, True King, where like it destroys fire monsters to special summon itself, even though it was destroyed, it's not the last thing in the chain, because the summon resolves, and therefore Tiger King is turned off. The worst thing in the world. I hate it. Okay, next you run the best card in the deck, like hands down. It's amazing. It's actually amazing, and so we'll have to read it. So, 2 level 4 Fire Fist monsters. So this is actually one of the few archetypal cards in the deck. You can detach 2 Xyz materials from this card. Target 2 Fire Fist or Fire Formation cards in your graveyard and or on your, face up on your side of the field. And 2 cards in your opponent's graveyard or side of the field. Shuffle those targets into the deck. It's so freaking good. Because, like, it can either be a crow or it can, like, just wipe your opponent's board with non-destruction removal. And then put them into the deck where the resources are just about inaccessible. It's such a freaking good card. There's a super rare printing too if you don't want to spend money. Fire Fist Horse Prince. You'll basically, it's a level 6, and so the whole thing is you make it off of Spirit by reviving like a leopard or something, or a rooster, and then you synchro 6, and then once you do that, you can special summon like a level 3 Fire Fist from your graveyard or from your deck, which is typically going to be rooster, so you'll probably want to use leopard as material, but again, it's weird. It requires a fire tuner and then non-tuner, so he's rather generic. But yeah, not fantastic. And also the card he special summons cannot be used for synchro summons. And then you can also not special summon level 5 or higher for the rest of the turn. So he can be very bad sometimes too. Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Swan. And so he's a fusion monster, and basically he's only when he's summoned, he burns 200 for every fire formation. So, but he's all hard once per turn, so no FTKs there. Yeah, we're safe from that. And then his other effect is essentially during the battle phase, you can quick effect send one fire formation spell or trap to pop one on your opponent's field. It's fine, I suppose. You'll want to end with him. Next, you run Heraclinos and Leo Dancer as targets for the field spell, but again, just the extra deck space is very loose, to say the least. But yeah, the issue I was talking about with Kettle Call is theoretically, had Tiger King been a, I don't know, if effect, like most modern Yu-Gi-Oh cards are and should be, it would be that you could Kettle Call, say, a random monster. We'll say, oh wow, my Fire Fist Buffalo, wow, I will use Kettle Call, making a Tiger King, and then having something on my board, and then linking 2 into Eagle to float Tiger King. However, that combo does not work because of the Wen effect, and it's a mistake I actually made when building this deck, because I will actually do a hand with Cattle Call just to show you like how much it changes the power output of this deck. Excuse me as I cut to power shuffle. Alright, so yeah, I've power shuffled, and we will show you some test hands. So first I'll do a Cattle Call hand, and so let's draw 1, 2. Oh my god, this is terrible. And 1, 2. Okay, so this is what we call unplayable. So in this situation, you would normal summon, set 3, pass. Alright, and I'm gonna be honest, this happens probably too much in this deck. So let's try again, and I'll show you, depending on how many times you get full combo, like probably 5 test hands just to show you like the combo path of this deck. And so currently we'll just have the 1 Cattle Call sitting there. And also one thing to remember is that not Cattle Call, this entire deck's resource management and like combo paths are just ridiculous and terrible, and I hate it so much. Alright, this is technically speaking playable, and I will show you how. Actually, no, this is actually unplayable. We lose again. This is quite unfortunate indeed. Yeah, because there's no fire formation spells, so we cannot actually play. Which is, you know, like this is something that happens painfully frequently inside the like actual like playing the deck. Just you will not see spells anywhere near frequently enough to like make combos. There will be so many times you just have to normal summon or just set 1 and pass. Or even worse, when you have to go second and then you can't do anything and you just have to scoop. It is not a good deck, and I would not advise building this unless you are a very big fan of the archetypes like style, or you believe you have like some secret spicy text that I'm just not seeing. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so okay, we have what's our first playable hand. All right, and so this will be the power, I guess, of Fire Fist. So with Cattle Call, so I'll only do 1 play with Cattle Call just because I don't want to do this multiple times because it makes me sad. So I'll take Cattle Call, sending Raven to special summon Tiger into a main monster zone because Master Rule 5 is phenomenal. And then Raven's effect triggers. And so now I get a fire formation spell. Oh, I'll go ahead and activate. Let's think. I'll actually go for a 10 key and then activate my 10 key to search. And then once I activate 10 key, I'll trigger Panda's effect to special summon itself and Raven from the graveyard. So while I'm searching, I'll just spring for a... Oh, what would be a good target? I will shoot for a dragon, actually. Yeah, dragon makes sense. Alright. And so, Panda's effect triggers. I'll special summon itself and Raven from my graveyard. And next I'll link 2 with Tiger King and Raven. And so, Tiger King, Raven, into Eagle. And now I'll trigger his floating effect and then believe I can trigger Tiger's effect. Just because if he was an if effect, this deck would be so good. And so I'll search a Tensu off of Raven and then if effects Tiger, which you just have to believe in because it makes me so sad that we can't. We'll special summon 2 dragons because dragon is a very good card. And so yeah, activating, and so we search Tensu. Next we can activate Tensu to normal summon dragon, and then use these 2 dragons effects to set traps. All right, so we'll set a Sinto and a Tensu. All right, so now we set those 2. Next effect of Eagle, bounce this to pitch. Rooster. All right. Activate this first dragon's effect. Revive Rooster. Alright, and now Rooster's effect, search. We will search any level 5 or higher, but we already have Eland in our hand, so we will just search a Panda, because good card. And then Rooster's second effect for a Fire Formation spell or trap. We'll go Dome. Yeah. And so now we can go ahead and... Well, Liang Peak could have been up this entire time. I don't know why I didn't do that. But again, like, you wouldn't be able to resolve anything major because Panda's stuck there. And so, Dome, activate that using these 2 as material to make Eland. And then you won't activate Eland's effect just because that's kind of bad. And then you can overlay these 2, or if you want, yeah, overlay these 2 into Tiger King, effect of the remaining dragon. So we'll use Tiger King's effect first to set a fire formation, and so we'll do Ingen, and then use the effect of the remaining dragon to revive Tiger King. And now this is what you call idiocy, because you activate Ingen, fusing, will it be these 2? It will be these 2, into Firefist Swan. Alright? Now theoretically you could trigger Tiger King's float, but actually you cannot, because that is not the way he works, because he must summon 2. So again, it's like, it should basically boost your consistency a whole lot if you're able to, and then you can just go ahead and like link 2 into what's her name, Peacock right now? Yeah, you can make Peacock and then use his floating effect to revive, or to special summon, I don't know, like 2 elephants, because they have to be the same name, because that's not a once per turn. The float's not a once per turn, but also because it's a when effect, this will never happen in real life. I just wanted to dream. And so a cardinal, and then look at this board. Look at how impressive it is. But then you see the breakdown of exactly what you're working with, all right? You have 1 monster negate, 1 battle phase only destruction, and 1 spell trap negate. You also have 1000 attack boost. That's it. This deck is, the power output is just entirely not there. Theoretically, with the Cattle Call interaction having, assuming that the Cattle Call interaction had worked, you would probably be able to end with an Appaloosa if you played carefully, but that would involve very careful playing and probably not running Panda anymore at all, and probably just running Desires and other draw cards instead. But the issue is that Cattle Call's interaction with the float of Tiger King does not in fact work, and the power output of the deck, regardless, is still terrible. Yeah, and so, again, it's very painful to play. So now we'll just do 5 test hands. I will play through the best I can, regardless of exactly what we draw, and then I'll actually power shuffle after each one, just because the deck already has so many consistency issues, and it also tends to have the clumping after you play. So this is going to be 5 cards, and so this is actually a pretty solid hand, I suppose. And so what we can do is you can activate 10 key. Actually, would that even... I actually have to think very carefully about this combo path. Yeah, so you can activate 10 key, search for a elephant, normal summon elephant, effect, send 10 key to special summon Raven. Actually, even though Rooster's effect would be triggered, it's just if you special summon Rooster, you wouldn't be able to get any more fire formations for the rest of the turn, and so you'd be kind of screwed. And so now you would link 2 into Eagle using Raven's effect to... Actually, what you would do first, because of Raven, Raven is your other card, you would actually shuffle in your 10 key to search a... Let me check my other card in my hand. That's Rooster, yeah. So you would definitely go for, in this scenario, Panda. And so, link 2 into Eagle, and then keep in mind, Eagle's effect is not actually on summon. I'll throw Catacall off screen. But Eagle's effect is not actually on summon, so after searching a Tensu off of Raven, you'll activate your Tensu, and then use Eagle's effect to bounce to send to the graveyard. And so now you will send Rooster. Now you can hand activate Tensu, and this is all assuming your opponent has no interruptions. Had they like crowed Rooster, you're gone. Or had they like Ash Blossomed any of this, you're gone. So yeah, you activate Tensu, effect of Panda, special summon itself and Rooster. Now you activate Rooster's effect to search. So you search for level 5 or higher. In this case, Eland. And then use the second effect to search for a spell or trap, Dome. Next, you'll want to activate Dome using in your hand. We'll do this and this as material for Eland, and then use Eland's effect, discarding Rooster, to search a fire formation. Cinto. Next, you'll set Cinto and pass. This is the limit of this combo path. And so basically, you end with 1 monster negate, 1 spell or trap negate, and then battle or card effect destruction protection once per turn. It is rather pathetic. I'm gonna be honest. This is not a great deck. Yeah, so that's test hand number 1. We'll do 2 more, just because this deck also is like pretty hard in terms of thought. And so like it's not exactly, it's both a very high skill and very minimal reward kind of deck. I haven't experimented too much with the going second build, focusing on Cardinal, Yoko, and Bear, but I can't see that going anywhere particularly well. So yeah, that's like entirely up to y'all if you want to see that, test that out. But going first build is the optimal one I found so far. And even then, like you have 2 negates, possibly 3 disruptions, with 1 forcing, like requiring that it's in the battle phase. And then like if they like, vortex you, you just cry, because you can negate that with Cinto, but that means that like evenly, or you just have no spell and trap negates, and there goes one of your 2 disruptions, and they paid no cost for any of that. Especially because you lose to both effects of vortex too. So yeah, in this case, so yeah, 5 cards. And this is another situation in which you cry because you literally cannot play. So you would activate Fire Fortress and then set 3 and then pass, because you cannot activate Panda's effect. And had you drawn another card, you'd still not be able to activate Panda's effect. So this is just, or you would activate Ingen and be able to fuse into Swan, but again, that does nothing for anyone. However, if you had normal summoned Dragon before fusing, you would also be able to get into a Cinto. And since we didn't do any comboing there, we don't have to power shuffle. So this will be the final test hand to show you like just exactly what this deck does. And I'm gonna be honest, it's just not a lot. It doesn't accomplish much. And so right here, you also see another rather unplayable hand, but you can make it combo if you really want. So you make an Almirage here with Raven, because this is why you have to pay for Almirage. Like it's mandatory. You go for Tensu, and then you activate your Tensu. You normal summon Elephant, and then send a Tensu to special summon from your hand Raven. Yeah, yeah, you activate Elephant's effect, shuffling Tensu back in, and getting you Panda. Next, you'll link 2 down here because zones don't matter into Eagle. Now, because of that, Raven will give you his effect to float again for another spell or trap. We'll go Fire for Fortress. Yeah, Fortress. Then we'll activate Fortress. We'll use Eagle's effect, bouncing Fortress to hand, to send Rooster. Next, you'll activate Fortress, reviving Panda and special summoning from your graveyard Rooster. Rooster will now search. Rooster will give you Eland and you use the second effect to set a fire formation. You will have to go for Dome here. There is no other option. Next, you'll activate Dome, and then you'll probably actually want to use these 2 to fusion summon, or to ritual summon into Eland, and then you'll actually use Eland's second effect to discard to discard, not second effect, his first effect, to discard and then set a fire formation. So Sinto. So in this case, you have Sinto and you have Tensen. And then next turn, if you choose to activate Eland's effect, you can send Dome to pay actual cost, and then special summon a Panda for singular protection. You also have the disruption from Almirage, but again, not the best. And that has been Fire Formations, or Fire Fists, Flash Fire Formations, I guess, because they're both part of the same archetype. Yeah, it's a very temperamental deck with a lot of consistency issues, very low power output, and just overall extremely high skill requirements to possibly pilot. So it is not a very beginner-friendly deck, but also the combo paths are pretty fun, and it does have a lot of answers to many situations. It's just depending on if you can access those at any given time. So it is a very strange deck. I would not consider this at all vaguely competitive. Like there probably hasn't been any relevant tops with this deck anytime since 5 got released. There's probably been day 2 builds, but again, it's not a very good deck. But yeah. That's been Fire Fist. I hope you guys liked this video. Let me know in the comments exactly how I can make this better and just what kind of decks you want to see next.